So someone requested me to make Wolverine, and that is what I'll be doing today. Here's a list of everyone that everybody wants me to make, so everyone's all up to date where everyone's at. Moving back to the stand, I'm going with the red X that Wolverine has on his belt because I think that's the most predominant symbol you think of with Wolverine and like what was said in the movie. So I'm just going to kind of leave that. The base, I'm kind of going with a more futuristic, modern take with the X, where it's more flashy and not as bland. So it's not just an X, it has some lining in it. Not too crazy to where it's distracting, but enough to where it's more distinct. So after that, you paint it black, and then you hit it with a little bit of red just to separate the X a little bit better. And you're all done with the stand. Starting off with the helmet, you hit it with a little bit of spray paint, and then you go inside and you start to paint on the black. So I'm basing this Wolverine off of what I think the MCU Wolverine would look like if it wasn't Hugh Jackman. I would be making the Hugh Jackman one, but I have one very similar that I made a while back, and I don't want them to kind of mesh, so I'm going with my own unique spin on it. So after that's all done, you go let it dry, and you show off what has been done. Nice. So moving on from the mask, here I am making the face, and I made the base of the head off camera. What I'm going for is more of a screaming Wolverine. He's going in action and he's going to attack someone. So I made an open mouth, and to make sure everything's fitting, I add the mask once in a while, and I use a sharpened pencil to make lines and creases in the face to make it look like there's an actual person wearing a mask. So I made an old Wolverine figure a while back, and I didn't really like how it looked. It turned out okay, but not really what I wanted. So I took it apart, and I'm going to be using it for this figure. And how I'm going to approach it is I'm going to try to make it look more modern and like an actual suit someone would actually wear in the movies. So I'm going for a more classic look with adding blue underwear, but not to make it look stupid and make it look like an actual military suit. And I have this suit made majority out of KT tape, which you can find on Amazon. And I say majority because for the black parts, it's made out of electrical tape, just to make it look like it has a more leathery effect to it in some parts, as in the black stripes, the belt, and also the boots. And I think that was the best option, just to kind of separate the outfit a little bit more. Moving up to the head, I add the neck part to make it more realistic, and I add all the intricate muscles and details into the neck, just to have it stand out a little bit better. And I go over it with a pencil real quick, just to add more detail. And after you let the head dry, you add the KT tape, and you put on the mask. And my head was a little bit fatter than it needed to be, so I had to break off the top a little bit, just so I could fit it on. And then lastly, for the head, you add glue to the top of the head, the inside of the mask, and you put them together, and you let them dry, and then you get this. Next up on the list, here I am making Wolverine's hands out of clay in the show that I do not always need to rely on technology, and that it can be done without the use of my 3D printer, and that it can be done easily all by myself. So right after you print off the hands, you paint the glove part blue and then the claw silver, just like how Wolverine is. And you might want to cover up the blue part while you're painting the silver, or else you might scuff up the gloves with the silver like I did, so probably cover it up like I did not. After that, you print off a pair of shoulder pads and you paint them blue, but recording didn't work, so it's just me gluing them on, which, sorry about that. So then you move on to the belt buckle that's 3D printed, and I recommend going over it with a paint marker so you can get over the sharp edges with a more needle-like tip for the edges of the X around the circle part. And then after the belt buckle is dry, you glue it on, and you step back,